Today, we're going to put together a blueprint for growth that connects the dots all the way from our own personal mindset to how our teams work and even to the culture of an entire organization. So let's get into it. You ever wonder about this? It's a real puzzle, isn't it? You can have two people with pretty much the same skills or two teams with the same exact resources, and yet one just takes off while the other, well, they just get stuck. What's the secret ingredient here? What makes the real difference? Well, it turns out the secret isn't just raw talent or having the best stuff. It's about having a system, a blueprint, one that starts deep inside us with our own motivation and then scales all the way up to create a culture where everyone can thrive. Let's start building that blueprint piece by piece. Okay, so first things first, every good blueprint needs a power source. So for us, what's the fundamental engine? What actually drives our motivation and keeps us engaged? Let's take a look at the science. One of the most powerful ideas out there is something called self-determination theory. It basically says that we are all born with three core psychological needs. And if you meet these needs, people thrive. They're motivated, they're productive, they're happy. But if you don't, that's when they struggle. So what are these magical needs? Well, first up is autonomy, that feeling that we're in the driver's seat of our own lives. Second is competence, the need to feel like we're good at what we do and can tackle challenges. And number three, relatedness, that simple desire to connect with other people. These three things, they are the absolute bedrock of real, lasting motivation. The best way to think about this is that these three needs are the power supply for your personal operating system. Without this power, none of the apps we're about to install, our thinking habits, can run properly. This foundation, it absolutely has to be there first. All right, so our power source is humming along. Now it's time to install the software. We're talking about the specific thinking habits that let us tackle really complex problems effectively. This software is what experts call habits of mind. And here's the key. It's not about what you know. It's about how you act when you don't know. These are basically 16 behaviors that you can actually see in highly effective people when they're staring down a tough problem. And these habits are so practical. Think about it. Persisting when things get hard. Thinking flexibly enough to see things from another angle, staying curious, asking good questions, and realizing that, hey, we're almost always smarter together than we are alone. These aren't just fuzzy ideas. They're things you can actually do. And this brings up a deeper question, right? Are these habits just practical tools to get a job done, or are they part of a bigger search for truth and understanding? The first view is useful, for sure, but that second one, seeing it as a quest for wisdom, that's a small shift in perspective that changes everything. Okay, so we've got our power source, that's motivation, and we've got our software, our thinking habits. Now we need the operating system that runs the whole show, our core beliefs about intelligence itself. You've probably heard of this one. It's Carol Dweck's famous work on the growth mindset. The big idea is super simple, but also incredibly profound. If you believe you can get smarter, you act in ways that make you smarter. It's all about believing that effort is the key, not just some talent you were born with. But here is where the story takes a really interesting turn, and it's a huge but. It turns out that just having a growth mindset by yourself isn't the whole picture. Actually, it might not even be the most important piece of the puzzle. It turns out a growth mindset is like a seed. It needs the right soil to grow, otherwise it just withers. This is the whole idea behind the mindset plus supportive context framework. For a growth mindset to actually work and lead to better results, the environment has to support it. Do the teachers believe in growth too? Is the school safe and fair? Is there support at home? Without the right context, that growth mindset just can't take root. So that brings us to the next logical step. If individuals need this supportive context, how do we actually build one? How do we take all these individual operating systems and connect them so they can work together? How does a group create a shared reality? The tool for this is something called collaborative inquiry. It sounds complicated, but it's really just a structured way for a group to have a conversation that builds a real shared understanding. The point isn't to debate and have a winner. The point is to explore together and create something new, a shared set of values and behaviors. This is a perfect example of how that works. A group might say, okay, we all agree on the value of respect, but what does that actually look like day to day? Through this process, they define it with super concrete observable behaviors. This isn't some rulebook handed down from on high. It's a user agreement created by the group for the group. And that is how you turn a word on a poster into a living, breathing reality. So we've connected the individual's power source to the group's network. Now, let's zoom out to the final piece of our blueprint, creating an entire ecosystem where every single element is designed for one thing: growth. This is what's known as a deliberately developmental culture, and it's a pretty radical idea if you think about it. What if a company's main product wasn't its goods or services, but the development of its people? In these kinds of places, personal growth isn't some yearly training session. It's woven into the fabric of the daily work, every single day. In this image, it just captures the whole thing perfectly. A truly developmental culture is a unified system. It takes our motivations, our thinking habits, our shared values, our potential, and it integrates it all into one cohesive, thriving whole. This, right here, this is the ultimate goal of the growth blueprint. So let's end with a question for you to think about. Look at your own team, your company, even your family. Is that environment designed for training people to just perform tasks? Or is it an ecosystem designed for true, personal, and collective transformation? Because the difference between those two, well, that's everything.